Hello guys, Mr. Max here with TSM Training, and today what I wanted to do is go about some words that we usually use when we come to training. So go through a certain like lexicon of training, because if in the near future I'm doing more technical video about training and I use some of those words, I want us to be on the same page, on the same wavelength as to what I mean by those words. So today's going to be a bit of a slideshow there. So lexicon of training. So the first thing, the basic, I'm gonna go quickly about that. Rep, set, rest, spotter, spot. Pretty much, I'm sure everyone will know what they mean. A rep is when you do one instant of the motion on whatever exercise you do. A set is a group of reps. Usually, when we talk about a number of set and reps, we're gonna do like a 3 times 15. Well, it's gonna be like 3 sets of 15 reps. So this is something to know about, I guess. That's I'm sure most of you are familiar with that. But usually, like, we're gonna name this the number of set first and the number of reps second. Rest is the time you use between reps. A spotter or a spot, sometimes we just use the guy that's gonna make sure you don't injure yourself, or it's gonna help you, like on bench, do end off for you. On squat, stay behind you and make sure if you fail a rep, it's gonna help you a bit. Bring the bar back to the rack. It's a useful thing to have. That's really the basic. The weight, when we say a plate, that's 45-pound plate. Half plate is a 25-pound, even though it's not quite half. That's what usually mean. Some people call it a quarter because like it's 25 cents, but I usually use half plate because quarter doesn't make sense. But we do use a dime for a 10-pound plate, and the cookie are the 2.5-pound plate, so 2.5-pound plate. If you add a cookie on the bar, you're basically adding 5 pounds. Like you're gonna add 2.5 pounds on each side, so that's adding 5 pounds to your bar. So we don't really have a term for the 5-pound plate. It's just a 5-pound plate, but other than that, it goes cookie, 5-pound plate, dime, half plate, plate. Type of set: single, double, triple. Pretty self-explanatory. A single, you're doing like set of 1 rep. Double, set of 2 reps. Triple, set of 3 reps. AMRAP, it means as many reps as possible. So you do reps until you fail, and that's something I often stress, is like until you're, especially if you don't have a spotter, but until your form fail. When especially on deadlift, like sometimes you could squeeze 1 more rep, but it's gonna be ugly as hell, and you know it because your form completely broke down. Well, then you're done. Just stop there, because this is oftentimes when you can injure yourself. On bench, if you have a spotter and all, yeah, sometimes you can squeeze 1 more. The spotter maybe is gonna help you a bit, take a few pounds with it. That's all right. Superset. This is a form of training when if you do like 2 exercise usually, and oftentimes in accessories, and you're gonna do, like, let's say you do like some cable extension with a tricep cable extension and some face pull, while you're gonna do one and then do the other. Sometimes take a bit of rest between going back to the one, but you kind of like intertwine the 2 exercise instead of doing 3 sets of the face pull and 3 sets of tricep cable pull down. You do 1 set of each. You alternate between both. Drop set is linked to a bit to AMRAP. Is when you do a set of sometimes with as many reps as you can. Sometimes it's a fixed number of reps, but when you with a certain amount of weight, then you're gonna do your rep, and then if you can't anymore, or if you did the number of reps you were going for, you drop the weight and do some more reps, and then drop the weight and do some more reps, and then drop the weight and do some more reps until you're done with your work. Circuit training, that's linked to a superset. I should have like flipped the order on those. It's kind of like superset, but usually in circuit training, you're not gonna take any rest between your exercise, and it's usually like it can be like 2, 3, or 4 exercise. So you're gonna, and this is kind of a jerky way to train if you're in a gym with other people, because like then you occupy like 4 machine for a long time doing all your set. But some people like training like that. It is what it is. In programming, cycle, microcycle, mesocycle. Cycle is a term that can mean many things. That's why I have like microcycle and mesocycle underneath. A microcycle is that's not a term that everybody use, but it's basically a week of training. But why we make a difference between a week and a microcycle is because they can be different of different duration. Your microcycle can be more than a week or less than a week. For example, if you have like 4 training days on your program and a rest day at the end, then your microcycle is 5 days. So then if you start another cycle right after, then your microcycle is shorter than a week. So basically every 2 weeks you're gonna have like 3 microcycle more or less. Or you can have a microcycle that is longer than a week. For example, if you say that you want to have a training day, a rest day after every training day, and you got 4 training day in your week, well then that's 8 days. So you end up with a microcycle that is a little more than a week. So there's gonna be like movement around. Or sometimes you're gonna have like if you have like 4 days of training, but you have set days where you can train, that can lead to you're gonna do like 3 days, and then on the next week you're gonna start the week with the 4th day of your microcycle, so your microcycle is gonna move around the week. But that's why just saying like microcycle cover all that. Is a mesocycle is a set of microcycle. It's basically like what we call a month if you want. But again, it can be more than a month. Like sometimes if you have like, if your microcycle is a week and your mesocycle is 6 microcycle, then well, it's about a month and a half. And sometimes you're gonna have like because sometimes you're gonna want to do some training that's gonna be important to know where you are in that mesocycle, and their cycle that are intertwined, I guess. Deload is usually it's a cycle that you're gonna do, like a microcycle that you're gonna do usually, either doing nothing, or if you do active recovery, that is below there. It's you're gonna work with a very light weight, and a deload is sometimes you're gonna do that after a few mesocycle. A rest day is or the rest days are part of your microcycle. They are important, so sometimes we want to skip the rest day, but the body still need them. Active recovery I cover. That's when you if you do a deload, but you still go to the gym but just work very lightly. Peaking is a type of cycle that you're gonna do when you want to get ready to do a 1 rep max. So either just to test to try a new personal record, or if you getting ready for a competition, for a meet. So peaking cycle are usually like 6 or 10 weeks. Can be very complex. People have different theory about that. Maybe at some point I'm gonna talk about peaking cycle, but that's probably gonna be like further down the line. And usually peaking cycle are gonna, after that you're gonna do a deload before going for your actual you're gonna do a microcycle of deload before going for your 1 rep max. to make the body ready. Volume is the total number of reps you did for an exercise. So if you do, so basically, like if you do, because we often talk about high volume training or low volume training. If you do 5 sets of 15 reps, that's high volume. If you do 3 sets of 1 reps, that's low volume. Intensity of a percent, that's based on your 1 rep max. So the most weight you can move for a single rep is what's going to define the weight you're going to move for your training. Oftentimes we're gonna have you work at 80%, sometime up to 90%. If you on the deload active recovery deload, sometimes you're gonna work at 50% of your one rep max. And the 1 rep max, like I said, it's the most weight you can move with a certain movement for a single rep. And those are tested usually after getting ready to test it. So after like some form of peaking, it can be like a light peaking if you just like in the middle of like your training process and you just want to test. After a few mesocycles, it's good to test your 1 rep max, even if you don't want to go to the whole like mesocycle of peaking. That's still valid. And also when you do the 1 rep max, don't do it after doing high volume training. You go in the gym to do that, and you train in function to perform well on that. It's a way to test yourself, the progress you made and stuff like that. The workload or the work you done, that's it's just an expression of the volume kind of multiplied by the weight you move, by the percent or the intensity you move. So if you do high volume training, you're gonna work with less weight, you're gonna move with lighter weight. And if you do low volume training, you're gonna work with higher weight, but the workload should be somewhat equivalent. The type of movement, the compound movement or the main compound we call sometimes in the powerlifting, those are the squat, the bench, and the deadlift. They're movement that use the whole body. I often talk about like when you deadlift, if you have to use the leg drive a lot. If your leg don't get sore when deadlifting, you don't use enough leg drive. When you squat, you still need to bend the bar, get the back tight, so the upper body is still involved. And same thing on the deadlift. So those movements are what we call compound because they use basically the whole body. MSM or supplemental. MSM stands for mechanically similar movement. I usually call them MSM. Some people call them supplemental. They are movements that are similar to the main compound. So that those are like if you do bench, MSM for bench, a mechanically similar movement for bench would be, for example, like benching with dumbbell instead of with a barbell. Or if you do close grip bench or wide grip bench or board bench or bench with bands, there are variation on bench or exercise that use the same kind of muscle group. Same thing with squat. You can do like the box squat. You can do the belt squat. Deadlift got his own set of MSM. At some point, I'm going to make a video about different MSM for a different lift and what they're good for. But MSM is a term I often use because oftentimes in programming, I'm going to say you're going to do your main movement, you're going to do MSM, and then you're going to do some accessories, which is the next one in the list there. Accessories are just like exercises that are not a compound, not a MSM, usually target more specific part of the body, usually targeting the weakness that you have in your for your MSM. So if you're weak in the tricep, you're gonna go work your tricep with the accessory and stuff like that. If you're weak in the shoulder, you're gonna do some shoulder work. Free weight and machine, that's free weights is everything with a barbell or with a dumbbell. And the machine are the one with the cable and pulley and stuff like that. The difference between free weights and machine, well, free weights, I prefer free weights usually because they require like stabilization and they stimulate all those little body, while the machine, they tend to target more, which can be good if you're doing like bodybuilding stuff and you really want to target a specific muscle. Sometimes machine might be better for that, I guess. But yeah, I like the free weight more. Find them more fun too. Cardio, I don't speak Italian, so I don't know what that is. Next, the details of movement. Concentric, eccentric, those goes together. The concentric phase of a movement is when the muscle fiber of the muscle that you're targeting are contracting, and the eccentric phase is when they're extending. So if you talk, for example, of a bicep curl, well, the concentric phase of the movement is when you raise the arm, and then the eccentric phase is when you lower them. Sometime we're gonna talk about that because we're gonna say, oh, try to do your concentric phase in 2 seconds and the eccentric in 4 seconds, something like that. So it's good to know what they are. Flexion or curl and extension, those are the type of movement. And a flexion or curl or movement that you do where a part of the body is gonna go closer to its parent. So like I said, like a bicep curl, like when the word is there curl as well, because we also say leg curl and stuff like that. They're flexion. So this part of the body goes closer to the part it's attached to. So that's a flexion. If I do tricep pull down, they start close and they go further apart. That's an extension. I sometimes talk about the leg drive on the bench come from the hamstring. It's like a leg extension. Well, that's what I mean. Like but of course the leg don't leave because their feet is on the ground. What's happening to my body? Those terms we use when training with the change that happen. Hypertrophy is when you gain muscle. Atrophy is when you lose muscle. An anabolic process is something that's gonna encourage hypertrophy, so it's gonna make you gain muscle. That's like good diet, proper exercise, and drugs. And a catabolic process is something that is gonna provoke atrophy, so it's gonna make you lose muscle. A big one in that is stress. The stress hormone, cortisol, is gonna eat up your muscles, so stress is gonna hinder your training quite a bit. Delayed onset muscle soreness, DOMS. This is when you get sore. If you train hard, sometimes you're gonna get sore not right away, not the next day, not in the evening, 2, sometimes even 3 days later. And this is usually a good sign, meaning you train hard and stuff like that. But I just wanted to make that, so if you start training stuff like that, and at some point, man, I'm sore, but 24, 72 hours later, that's normal. Bulking and cutting, that's when people manage their weight. In bulking, you're gonna try to gain weight, so you're gonna consume more calorie than you expend. In cutting, you're gonna try to consume less calorie than you expend. Very broad overview here. Some term about powerlifting specifically, just in the end there. A meet is usually what we call a competition. Full power, it means you're gonna do the 3 lift, so you're gonna squat, then bench, then deadlift. Push-pull is gonna be deadlift and bench only, so bench and then deadlift. There's no squat. You can also do like a single lift meet, but they're just called that. Equipped mean it's for people that use special gear to lift. So you're gonna have like the bench shirt or the squat suit and stuff like that. It's a very technical way of lifting. Those equipment allow you to move more weight. It's not easy to do, but that's where you see like people benching like over 800 pounds and stuff like that. Raw is the opposite. It just means that you don't use any special equipment, you just go there with your own body. A monolift is a special type of equipment for squat. It's basically a squat rack where the hook move out of the way. You need somebody to operate the monolift, but in competition, sometimes you're gonna have those. And if you can have those in training, it's a good thing as well. But what it means, like, you're just gonna go there, get under the bar, you place your feet right away because there's no walking out. So then you just like lift the bar, they're gonna remove the hook, you do your squat standing where you are, you stand up, they're gonna put the hook back, you re-rack the bar. That's a good thing because oftentimes on squat injuries happen during walkout. So by eliminating the walkout, you prevent some injuries. But usually, even if you're in competition with a monolift, they usually allow people to walk out still because some people don't have access to monolift to train, and then it can bother their way of they do squat. And if you get used to get in position by walking out, maybe you better do that when you arrive in competition as well. A flight is just the way that meets are organized. You're gonna have like depending on the number of lifter, you're gonna have a certain number of flight. Let's say you have flight A, B, C. What's gonna happen in the meet is it's gonna start with flight A. Everybody from flight A is gonna do their first attempt on squat. Then they're gonna do the second attempt on squat. Then the third attempt on squat. Then we're gonna move to flight B, that they're gonna do all their attempt on squat. So first one, second, and third. Then they're gonna go flight C, and then we're gonna move on to bench. Flight A do all their attempt on bench. Flight B all their attempt on bench, etc. An attempt is just you go on the platform and you try it for a single rep with the weight you chose. And a total, your total on the competition powerlifting meet is the best rep you did, the best attempt you succeeded. So they're gonna take for each lift, is gonna add it together, and that's gonna give you your total. And that's what you're after. That's what we're competing for. We're competing for the biggest total. So your best squat that you succeeded in the competition is going to be added to your best bench. It's going to be added to your best deadlift. That gives you the total. You try to push the total up from meet to meet. So this is what I wanted to go through. I hope this was interesting and it's going to be like somewhat useful. Thank you for watching. I know it's a bit of a longer video, so thank you if you're still there. If you have any question, you can leave in the comment below. And see you next time, guys. Take care.